to Flip of the Week. Today's subject is our rhythm sectional performance in a ballad. The first thing to know is you got to make sure you really know the song. Steve?
Well, I love playing ballads. It's one of my favorite things to do. And if you're going to play a ballad, it's different than playing a straight-ahead rock and roll song or a straight-ahead blues song, because a ballad is generally going to have some different kinds of changes to it. You really have to know what the changes are. You have to have them straight in your head and be ready to go with it.
Absolutely. So here's an example of the drums and bass in a ballad. Something I think a lot of drummers neglect in a ballad is the use of space, especially in their fills. And the bass and drums, and any other instrument for that matter, can fill, but it's about appropriate spots. So what would you say, Steve, is a good way to look at fills for a ballad?
Well, it's an interesting question. When you're playing a ballad, you really have to stay on top of where the song is. And you're going to have a guitar player who's looking to fill. You're going to have a keyboard player looking to fill. You may have a horn section looking to fill. So as a bass player, I try not so much to look for where I'm going to fill as much as try to find where the song is, feel the song, because a ballad is really about emotion. So I just try to stay on top of where the song is emotionally and let the other cats worry about filling things up.
Cool. Well put, well put. Especially when you're playing a drum fill in a ballad. Make sure it's big and broad and you're not stepping on anything. And it's also like a big cue or a big road sign that says, here comes the next section, with a lot of power and passion.
Right.
Here's an example of some fills in a ballad. Last example here is different ways that we can work as a rhythm section, both together and apart, on getting our tempo for a ballad. Any suggestions, Steve?
Well, again, I always take my cues from the drummer. Some guys really like to use a click track. I'm not a big fan of playing to a click, but if a drummer is using a click, that's fine. I just would prefer to play off what the drums are giving me.
Right. When playing with a click as a drummer, especially when you're working on slower tempos, I like to have a subdivision of maybe eighth notes, something that feels right so it takes some of the space.
Right.
Is there anything you work on or focus on for your spacing when you're working without a drummer?
The most important thing is to develop your internal clock. Since I was a kid, I've been practicing with a metronome on a daily basis. It's just part of the drill. It's something that you need to do. It may not be the most fun thing in the world to do, but it's really important. It develops your sense of time. It's a memory muscle. And as a bass player, or as an aspiring bass player, I can't stress highly enough, practice with a metronome and do it every day and try different tempos and find where things fall.
Very good point. So here is an example of working with a metronome on a ballad with the rhythm section. those are some examples of how drums and bass work in a ballad. Other than that, I think, just as you said before, it's a lot about the feeling. Steve, I know for myself, if I'm recording a session with several songs, I always try to take the slowest song, the ballad or whatever, and record it after lunch, because that's when I'm the fullest, and that's when I feel the slowest, and that's when I feel, like I can tell where the space is. I'm not as excited as I am at the beginning of the day to play really excited.
That's a good point.
Any other tips you have for bass players out there to play a good ballad?
Trust your drummer. Develop your internal clock. Don't overplay on a ballad. Just find where things naturally fall and feel the song. Playing a ballad is about conveying emotion. So don't be afraid to get deep into the song and take your cues from that.
Excellent. Thank you. All great suggestions from a good friend and great bass player. Steve, thank you again for being here on Flip of the Week.